All right, what's up, y'all? I'm back with another chapter of The Moment the Man Demands. This is chapter 4, and let's hop right into it. So, chapter 4 was about the leader. First thing that stood out to me was the most effective leaders are those who aspire to serve, and he uses the example of samurai always having a master or a mentor. And I think this is important because one, when you're servicing, you really have a deep understanding of what a person needs. And if you're listening to the needs, then you know how you can help them out, how you can be beneficial to them. So I feel like that's huge for being a great leader. And he says it's imperative in there. So without serving, you cannot lead. And most people don't know how to serve. Most people are very concerned about what it is that they need. I selfishly sometimes am concerned about what I'm needing. Not to say that I don't listen to others, but in terms of the next point, being hands on, knowing one's needs and then putting yourself in the mix to help them out is a completely different story from just knowing. So I feel like it's a two-step process: listening to what the person needs and then actually moving and being beneficial to them is one thing that makes a good leader. The next point was I cannot serve and save everyone. Back in the last chapter, I talked about you can disappoint the ones that you love. And I feel like this ties into it a little bit because even in group fitness, I'll use that as an example. Why not? I'm trying to help everyone in the room, trying to correct everybody. I'm trying to make sure we're all on the same page. And sometimes that's not the case. There's some people who come there and they want to do their own thing, or they feel like they're doing it right and they don't want to hear you. And I used to take that personal. And now I've kind of worked up to a point to understand this very point. I can't help everyone, even though it's my job, even though I'm leading the class because I'm certified to help and know when to come and correct and when you leave you alone and when to leave you alone. People are still going to do what they want to do. So as a leader, as someone who's in charge of the space at that very moment, I have to understand, okay, only be there. Sorry, only allow who wants to be helped to be helped. And it doesn't mean, as it said in the chapter, and I agree with this, it doesn't mean that those who don't want to be helped in that moment will never receive help from me. He uses the analogy when he taught at the cave, that the cave has no door. It's constantly open. You come in and you leave the same way. It's not blocked off forever. So I'll embrace you and come with open arms. You'll always feel welcome. And that's how I feel in class, which is why I keep using this analogy. I'm never going to tell somebody just because they didn't want to be helped one day that I won't help them. I will continue to serve and I'll continue to be there for them. But if they do not want it, they do not have to take it. So I thought that was really, really cool. Third thing that I saw, setting boundaries is imperative to fully walk in your divine calling. Boundaries are highly effective when you know how to use them and when you know what your actual boundary is, because sometimes it's hidden. As I've been saying with other things, there's layers to so many emotions and there's layers to boundaries as well. You might think, I just want this person to stay away from me, or I don't want to give time to this person anymore. But really, there's a deeper thought. Like, I don't like when this person does this, so this is how I move with this person. And I'm only using that as an example. I'm not saying that that's what was going on in the chapter, but that's just an example of a boundary where you can think it's one thing and it's really something that's very, very specific that you have to set to be able to deal with people around you, which is something I'm in the process of learning too. Sometimes I like to give a little too much to those around me and it takes from you. That was also mentioned in that chapter, that as leaders or good people, you just want to constantly give. And it's good to give to the right ones. And, it's reciprocated if you have a healthy relationship. But knowing what your capacity is and what your stopping point is for giving is the part that each individual has to be able to categorize. Because my point or my level might not be my mom's level. It might not be my partner's level. It might not be my friend's level. Everyone's going to have a different gauge. And you just have to figure that out. And once you do, you can start planning accordingly and setting the expectations where they need to be. So you can show up for yourself the next day, and continue to show up for them in a way that's consistent. The next one was do not create wife moms. This one was interesting for me because the wife mom is being described as someone who you're giving tasks to, and they're kind of like your mom. They're managing the funds, they're picking out what you're wearing, picking out what you're eating, and making decisions that you just don't care to do. And they're your wife doing it. And I don't have a wife, but I have done this type of thing before where I didn't feel like doing something and I just passed it off. And it does come from, as the book mentions, you dedicating your time and energy to other things, to where these things that seem so minuscule to you, you don't feel like doing. So you're just like, all right, go ahead, you do them. Why not? Like, I'm tired. I've done this. I've done that. I don't feel like dealing with it. And you feel like it's very minor. Those things are very major, because if you look at it from a human to human standpoint, that person also had a day. That person also has responsibilities, and that person probably doesn't feel like doing it either. So instead of making them feel like a parent that are obligated to do those tasks, stepping up and taking those on is a way to grow for yourself, which I thought was really cool. So I'm challenging myself to kind of get on that page where it's like, if there's something that I don't want to do, then probably should do it and take the time to do it. Because what I usually do is, if I'm trying to make a decision fast, I'll just put it on the other person. Like, if you know what you want, let me know. Easiest thing, food. Like, easiest example, I mean, is food. What do you want to eat? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. All right, cool. Well, let's think about it. Time flies. You don't think of anything. You're just kind of like chilling. Then it's like, well, if you know what you want to eat, then you pick. And now it's in their hands and they're trying to accommodate you. So it's just like this weird dance, versus you just being like, all right, I'm going to actually think about it and just do it. So yeah, wife moms, not a thing. And the way you can avoid that is by actually doing the shit. The next thing, final bullet point of this chapter that really got me, was weaponized incompetence. And it's exactly what I just kind of gave an example of, is when you pretend like you're incapable of doing a certain task just to get the other person to do it. So it's weaponized. Crazy. Oh, I don't know how to budget very well. And you do. So you should take on this task. Oh, I don't know how to cook. And you do. So you should take on this task. Oh, I don't know how to network. And you do. So you should take on this task. These are things that are very easy to do if you take the time to do them. Again, like I said before, with the wife mom situation. And so when you're put in those positions, you can either overcome them by doing the thing, or you can weaponize them by not doing the thing and passing it off. And I thought all of these bullet points, all 5 of them, really in a nutshell show if you're a leader or if you're not a leader. Because even in me reading that chapter and being able to pinpoint the things that I do, and then also be able to know what I can be better at, the next step is just taking the steps to do those things. And I think that's what the separation is, and how you can become a better one if you choose to do so. I really like this chapter. I felt like, or I feel like, every chapter I read is where I'm at on that day. Crazily enough, like, I read this chapter today and had a conversation yesterday about something that was very similar, with something where I needed this information now. So I will say, with this book, reading it at your own pace is kind of like a Bible. My mom does this thing where she flips open to a random page, or used to do this thing where she flips open to a random page, and whatever the scripture is, they just know that's what they needed. My pops does it too. I think it's my pops that does that. But either or, this book has been that for me. When I'm like, all right, I'm practiced the skills from the last chapter. I'm practicing the skills of this chapter, and now here I am reading another chapter and having something else to add to my list of being a comprehensive man. So we're 4 for 4. I'm really, really liking it. And action items for y'all is knowing which of these 5 things that I mentioned you can work on in the upcoming week. Today is Monday, so got a whole 7 days to strut through. And I would say just pick one for now. Obviously, I'm going to be aware and thinking of all these as well, but we're in this together. We're trying to figure this out together, and we're all trying to grow together. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the 5 things that I got from this chapter. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be back with another chapter as soon as we're ready. All right, Jay, out.